we're actually going to give it a few more minutes. We had many registrations, and we see a large number of people are still joining. So let's give them a few more minutes, and we'll start again. Hi, everybody. This is Colby. We're just waiting another minute while some people join. So just hang tight, and we'll get the show on the road soon. I see that some people are asking questions about how long the webinar is. The webinar will take about an hour. So I hope everyone has enough time to fit it into their schedule. And like I said, we'll get started very shortly. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome. We're going to get the webinar started. Okay, so I guess the first slide is up. Here we go. So thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning or afternoon for the Magento Developer Series of webinars. This is going to be the first webinar, which is kicking off the series, and we're glad to present it with our good friends, the Zend, the PHP company. And today we're going to be talking to you a little bit about Magento development best practices with Zend. And we're going to talk about creating considerate code using industry standard tools. So we're going to cover various conventions on some aspects of the best practices of developing for Magento. And the intended audience here is PHP developers and coders who are interested in customizing Magento for different purposes or even implementing their own new functionality. So the Magento core team uses these practices daily, and all Magento contributors are highly encouraged to use them as well. So in this webinar, you'll get an introduction of usage of Zend Studio, which is the integrated development environment that many of us use for developing for Magento. Next slide, please. So hi, I'm Colby Oz, Magento's community manager. And along with me today, I have Anton Makarenko, who is the Magento project manager on the Magento development team. And we also have with us Roy Ganor from Zend. Now, Roy is the lead, project lead of Zend Studio, and he's going to be demonstrating some of the best practices for Magento developers who utilize Zend Studio as their development environment. So a little bit about Varian and Magento. Varian is the Magento company, and Varian was founded in 2001. And since launching Magento only 2 years ago, we already have over 1.5 million downloads and over 30,000 merchants and $25 billion in transactions flowing through Magento. So as you can see, Magento is highly used and highly deployed all throughout the world. Our community is growing as well. We have over 115,000 community members, and many of those do contribute to Magento Connect in the form of different modules which are available for download or for sale commercially. And we currently feature over 1,700 of those modules through Magento Connect. Now, Magento Enterprise Edition is our enterprise level offering, and Magento Enterprise Edition provides open source flexibility with support guarantees such as warranty and code indemnification, and features merchants require for mission critical implementations. And I guess I'm going to hand it over to Roy now, who's going to talk to you about Zend a little bit.
Thanks, Kobe. Zend is a PHP company. It was founded by Andy and Zev, who made a significant effort to make PHP widely used and a great project, open source project. Today, there are two important open source projects that are led by Zend. The first one is Zend Framework, which provides a component library for web application developers who use PHP as their solution. And the second is Eclipse, PHP development tools open source project, which provides development tools for projects that use PHP. Zend is also provides solutions for PHP application development. Most of it is Zend Studio, which is based on the Eclipse solution, and Zend Server, which is a web application server for business-critical PHP applications, as well as technical support training and certification that is made by Zend. Hand you back, Kobe.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so we're going to kick it over to Anton Makarenko now, who is the Magento technical project manager, and he's going to run you through the agenda and the rest of the presentation. So, Anton, take it away.
Thank you, guys. This webinar covers Zend Framework coding standards and how they help to develop with Zend Studio, and a few topics for Magento developers and coders, recommendations for extending Magento functionality and template coding. The first important thing to note before starting the development with Magento is that Magento is implemented using the Zend Framework coding standard. Zend Framework is one of the industry coding standards for PHP. It is widely adopted in a variety of projects, from small web applications to big scalable corporate projects. The class's file naming in Magento follows Zend Framework standard and includes a namespace, then module name it belongs to. Then comes type of the class in MVC structure for models, blocks, and helpers. And after that, the name logical parts of the class relatively to the module. The parts are separated by an underscore. This naming convention allows to have the file names be intuitively clear. Namespaces introduce more scalability to have different set of modules from different vendors to be put together. Such naming is the same as other libraries and frameworks and is supported by popular development environments, for example, for navigation purposes. For Magento, this naming convention plays essential role for dealing with its large classes hierarchy. File formatting convention helps community and Magento developers to work on the same wave by producing a portable and well-recognizable code. According to Zend Framework standard, it is disallowed to put in a closing PHP tag at the end of the file. Indentation is 4 spaces. The end-of-line character is a new line only, which is native to Unix-like operational systems. For better consistency, it is recommended to save a new line character at the end of the files. Please do not forget to set up your editor to strip trailing spaces at the end of lines. Coding style defines simple rules for operators demarcation in control structures. The conventions for building up parentheses, literals, arrays, concatenation, comparison operators, and more help to get a well-readable code. Class and method names should be composed of meaningful words, that is, in some, laconically describe the essence of it. As well as method and function names, the variable names use the camel case convention. The private or protected class member names, for instance, start from _. Magento uses the PHP-doc standard for documentation, which is the part of Zend framework standard as well. It is essential for so-called control-click navigation inside the project and for autocomplete hints when writing any object-oriented code. Thus, any class, any method, any attribute should be documented according to the PHP-doc standard. You can learn much more about Zend framework coding standards at their website. Now it is time to pass the ball to Roy Ganor to see in action how the described above standards help to develop and learn with Zend Studio. This demo will show how to import Magento from the public Subversion repository, set up a project, and try some navigation and autocomplete functions.
Thank you very, very much, Anton. Indeed, I'll take a few minutes to demonstrate how to utilize Zend Studio for your Magento development. And it's very, I'm always say that tools matters. So actually, if you know your tool, you'll probably have a great experience developing Magento. We'll start with setting up the SVN repository, connecting to it, and just pull and the content. I'll start with Control 3, which give me a nice pop-up which I can browse for a specific view. I go to SVN repositories view, which lists all SVN connections that I have already, and I see that my my list includes the SVN repository, which is provided here. I can add new repositories by the new repository locations. Once I configure my repository, I can go to File, Import, and click on Project from SVN, which brings me to a nice wizard, which I need to select the SVN repository and then click on the next and finish. I won't show the whole process. It takes 10 minutes to load everything, so I'll just skip to the text itself. I want to start by setting up the project internally in my editor. So first of all, I'll demonstrate how to set up two important properties of the project. Both are related to PHP and the ID. It's called include path and the build path. And I'll start with the include path. The PHP include path is a set of folders that are that can be related in include statements, in require statements. It's very important to set it before development, because it will help you get to specific files in a very easy way. So for this time, for this project, I've added the app downloader and lib folders, which are used as include path in the project. So for example, I can go to the controller and go to directly from the include ones from one file to the other by control clicking on files. Basically, this is the include path. The other project management property that you need to understand is PHP build path, which is basically it's an IDE related, but it's a cool thing that many people asked before. It's a way to tell the IDE that I want to exclude specific folders from my build. It means that it will not be scanned by the builders and other stuff that that happen under the hood. So basically, it will my project will perform better if I set this build path. So in this project, I excluded all the JavaScript code, all the irrelevant code that is skin, media, or other stuff that might interfere with my development. And as you can see, I have folders which are in my build path and folders that are not in my build path. And this is the decorator indicates that this folder is in my build path. It's a very cool feature that many people ask. So after we imported the project and configured the project, we can browse to code. Many people ask how to better locate a specific class. So for this reason, we have used the OpenType and Open method dialogues. I clicked on Ctrl-Shift-T, which pops up the OpenType. I can click on a specific class name or interface name. I can use wildcards like asterisks, or I can use the camel case. So for example, if I click on MCC, I'll get to the Magento catalog category or any class which MCC camel cases letters are presented there. It's a great feature that gives me the ability to jump to specific classes easily. After we browsed to the specific code we wanted to go and understand, we can actually go and edit the file, of course, and to better understand the classes, you can go to a specific class or file and click on Ctrl-O, which gives you a nice outline view of this class. And here you can just go to a specific method easily with a simple links to the elements. So let's continue with the tool, and I want to demonstrate how to generate code because tedious operation in the IDE is the most important thing that we are trying to avoid. And in this example, I just go to let's say that I want to add a controller to my contacts. So, for example, I'll create a new class which is named Magento Contacts, and I say my controller. And my superclass, for my superclass, I can click on the Magento Core Controller for font action. Actually, this class is presented here because I already used it, so we keep history of classes that you used, but you could also get to this class by MCCFA front action with a simple camel case, and here I can click on I want to create a constructor, and I can click on inherited abstract methods if exist, and PHP doc blocks and to-dos and whatever I want to do. And here I have a very nice structure for my class. So I have this this sample of code generation. A nice other sample is refactoring. Many times in the development lifecycle, you want to make your code better and by optimize your code, by make it understandable for other people that might be used the code. So for this end, we recommend people to use refactoring. Refactoring is an operation that restructure your code without changing the meaning of your code. And I want to give an example. In this example, the variable, the field m, is used twice. We can make this code shorter by just clicking on the extract local variable. Zend Studio propose the m variables, and I also clicked on replace all occurrences, which gives me a way to shorten my code and make it more simple. I have two options, or just to click OK, or click on the preview. The preview will give me all the operations that are executed, and here I see that a new local variable is used and then is declared and then used twice in my code. So this is actually a simple example, but again, you can think about other things that might have a great influence when you refactor your code. I'll give another example for refactoring. You can actually select a statement and ask to extract a method. I can call a method which is called assign, for example, and this statement will be replaced by the assign method. Okay, so it's a very nice way to play with your code and make it very understandable to others. So this is the refactoring things that I wanted to share with you. Other things that are very cool in Zend Studio is the mark occurrences. You can actually go to select an element and see what occurrences are used for this element. I don't know. I'm not sure if you see all these occurrences, but Zend Studio presents lists all the occurrences of the assign method. It's very nice to use when you want to just locate the occurrences of a variable or method call. And in this example, I clicked on the month variable, the local variable, and Zend Studio highlighted the month variable and all its occurrences. And a nice thing to see here is that the write occurrences was labeled and colored orange, and the read occurrences are grades, which is a great tool to navigate between the occurrences and better understand your the logic behind the code. So there are many mark occurrences as we said for methods variable. One that I most like the inherited methods. In this example, I just click on the extend Magento core block templates class, and the implementers of methods are also highlighted. So in this example, I can see that HTML is actually overridden. It's actually overridden and declared in the hierarchy, in the upper hierarchy of you know of the Magento. And this brings me to another type hierarchy features that are provided in Studio. Look at this type hierarchy tool that with Control-T provides you the hierarchy for a specific class. So in this example, I clicked on the front controller, the Magento front controller action, and I see all implementation of this class. So it's a very nice way to browse to a specific to better understand your the architecture of the code by browsing the hierarchy and the classes that are part of of your project. I can also just go to go to a specific one by searching for a specific class, which is cool as well. So I will be happy to answer on more questions in the later on in the webinar, but I'll hand over to Anton, who will go to the next slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy. Let's get back to Magento and get deeper into recommendations and best practices for developer. The reason why Magento has a lot of features and hundreds of third-party contributions is that the product is fully object-oriented and extendable. In this topic, we will cover some simple practices that allow to build a well-extendable object-oriented PHP code for Magento. Before writing a line of code, imagine or draw the objects in their roles. Maintain the public interface of the class laconic. An object should be usable in all cases, from instantiating it to calling any of its public methods with any set of declared parameters. A good practice prior implementing new functionality is to mock up classes, describe their meaning, public methods, and their parameters using PHP doc. Magento has a requirement of backwards compatibility. It means that the interface of any public or protected scope class members and methods are not subject to change after they are released in a stable version. Instead of removing, renaming method or changing its parameters, the method is marked as a deprecated and should not be used. It allows community modules to be formally compatible with Magento installation is upgraded. However, any customization still should be reviewed by a developer when upgrading to newer version. Magento is built by an MVC design pattern. Normally, objects in Magento have the following roles. Controller works with session, HTTP request and response objects, instantiates and uses models, commences loading and outputting the view level. Models work with other models to exchange business logic, with resource models to read or store some data. View in Magento is represented as a pile of different objects, layout responsible for instantiating and controlling blocks, and blocks to get data from models and registry. A controller normally has only action methods public because it's not used by other objects. Contrariwise, the controller uses other objects. Usually, any non-action methods of a non-abstract controller have a protected or even private scope. To output data and headers, any controller action is supposed to work only with the response object. Do not use direct echo or send headers directly, because it can cause flushing the output buffer if there are any. As well, do not interrupt the program by exit or die directives. It will break the post-dispatching process, which is called after the action. Instead, if there is a need to break an action flow, use the response object and return. Many controller actions are designed to do a specific task with one specific entity. For example, view customer or order details, display layered navigation, and in such case, the main model, in context of which the view action is performed, is put into the registry with the current prefix. The current prefix is a naming convention for this pattern. For example, current product, current customer, current order, and so on. Then any model or block may take this object from registry and use. This approach simplifies access to the main context objects, however, makes the models that are designed to use such pattern be dependent from such specific use case. There are different models in Magento. Models that represent data access and describe public interface for an entity, for example, a product or customer, always extend abstract model and use all its magic features of the varying object-based class. As well, such models are tightly braced with the resource models. Thus, an entity in Magento that is stored in a database table with the primary key is described by two classes. Resource model specifies at least the primary entity table name and primary key name, and data model specifies the resource model name. Collections are resource models as well, but for initialization, they require a model name, which is supposed to be instantiated for each of the collection items from data rows. Other models are responsible for the logic features only and may extend other model, variant object class, or even be a standalone class, depending on task they solve. Observer pattern is used to formally separate modules functionality and widely used to extend functionality by third-party modules. There are event dispatches on all levels of the MVC pattern in Magento. There is a convention to have a model with observer class name suffix that is subscribed to various event dispatches. Such convention actually mixes up the logic from all MVC levels. However, it's not dogmatic. Don't hesitate to implement observer subscribers in any model, just make sure it is named comprehensively, documented descriptively, and contains the event dispatch name in PHP doc. Let's review the PayPal Express Checkout functionality as an example. It is implemented using the following key classes: Express Checkout Controller, Configuration Model, Express Checkout Flow Model, a conventional payment method model, the Mage PayPal Model Express, Website Payments Pro Model, MVP API Model, Payment Information Model, and more. Each of these classes has separate role and works on different abstraction level, which allows to keep everything on its place, to make each of the components do this job well and reliable and extendable. It can be compared with a corporate organization structure. Each member has its role, subordination, and delegated responsibility. And finally, a well-defined position can be replaced by another employee that works more effectively. To have good extendability, a class method should implement one atomic task with a clear input-output interface. Make sure the method returns the types described in its PHP doc declaration. If it returns different types, describe the PHP doc when and why. Polymorphic methods should be documented with special attention. Describe method use cases when it may be not clear what format the incoming parameters should have, or if there are different use cases for parameter combinations. Magento has a convention to use the protected scope instead of private. Of course, the private scope may be used as well, but for very small, insignificant parts of class functionality that don't make sense for its descendants. In most cases, it is encouraged to use protected scope instead of private. Do not infect the code with copy-pasting. Reuse code by extending classes or designing them to be dependent only from publicly declared resources and to have simple usable methods. In Magento, it's not a big deal to copy-paste templates, layout handles, but not the code. It is that simple. Use PHP-doc to describe each class attribute, and each method. Use standard PHP-doc syntax only. Put sense in every word of description when documenting. For example, it is required to define a getter instead of a magic getter in the model. In the PHP-doc, instead of doing monkey job of transforming camel case into words, explain why this getter was defined and what it does. In this example, you see a very big command, the biggest one in Magento, from the URL model. Don't write such commands. It should be more laconic. But this is the heavy use case example. Magento has a convention of imperative method naming. Get something, set something else, do something good, check some value, and so on. The name of the method that does something should start from a verb, and then should come mix of nouns, adjectives, and anything that makes sense. Methods that return a Boolean result may be named as a simple question. Is invoice created? Was payment processed? Has items? And so on. Make sure the methods and variables have name with not too narrow context. Otherwise, everyone who reads this code will have to refer to PHP-doc for explanation. Logic of a model method may be very complicated. The controller action may consist of several logical parts. In both cases, it is encouraged either to add an inline command for this part or even move it to separate protected method. As well, use the imperative statements in the inline commands. There are different ways to customize Magento functionality: by subscribing to event dispatches, extending classes, or completely overlapping classes using code pools. Subscribing observers to the event dispatches is the common and easiest way to add some functionality. Event dispatches may have static or dynamic name for different task needs. Usually, a state object is provided as one of the parameters of the event call. It can be modified by the subscribers. There are a few things that need to know about event dispatching. Event subscribers may be declared in global or area scope, namely frontend, admin, HTML, cron, on install. Subscribers for the same event are triggered exactly in the same order as the formal module dependencies defined. When defining a subscriber, make sure it won't override a different subscriber declaration unless it is intentionally needed. By default, the observer class is instantiated with a singleton factory, but it can be declared as a regular model factory in the configuration. Extending a model or block class without touching the original Magento source code is possible in virtue of abstract factory pattern used for creating objects. The names used in factory calls are checked against configuration definitions. The common use case of rewriting is to create a descendant class and replace the parent with it using rewrite section of the configuration. The model or block sometimes may be extended using a custom configuration node, depending on implementation of its factory. For example, there can be various payment methods defined in configuration. Rewriting the model node in the payment section would cause the same effect as if the model was rewritten in the model section. Blocks can also be overwritten using layout by replacing the block with new one with the same name or in one specific place. A rewritten class requires more maintenance efforts when upgrading, so this approach is not so preferable versus event dispatches. The downside of rewriting is that two different third-party models may attempt to rewrite the same class. In this case, the only one of the classes among defined to the same place will be actually instantiated. To put this together, the developer needs to create a third module that would incorporate functionality from one or both conflicting classes and do a final rewrite. When developing own customizations packages that consists of different modules, it is recommended to put all the rewrites in configuration of one module only. That would depend on all other customization modules. Code pools are used just as directories for include paths. The local code pool is supposed to contain custom modules. It has the top priority for include paths. Then the file is looked up in the community code pool, the place for third-party community customizations. The core code pool has the lowest priority and is supposed to be changed by Magento core team only. Use the community pool to install contributions and the local pool for writing on modifications for any code. Sometimes there is a need to change logic in an abstract class. It is possible simply to overlap it with own version of the file in the local code pool, but this leads to dead end in upgradability or third-party contributions adoption. Consider using event observers or even a dozen of rewrites of descending classes rather than overlapping entire class. Feel free to send any functionality improvement as a patch to Magento development group. To make sure the patch will be reviewed quickly, try to follow a few guidelines. Use the latest publicly available SVN checkout to create patches. Describe the problem definition and how it was solved in the patch, and create the patches relatively to the project root folder. Magento core team can add the event dispatches in needed places per request. Improvements may be submitted as standalone modules in Magento Connect. Some community contributions evolve into big functionality packages. Watch and learn. Each Magento installation store owner wants a custom design. Let's review a few custom recommendations how to make themes light and upgradable. Since Magento uses native PHP for themes, it is technically possible to inject any code there. Template conventions appeal not to write too much code in templates. Call only methods of the block the template belongs to. No exceptions. Do not call other object methods. Simplify calculations and conditions by introducing various block methods or set block magic parameters before outputting HTML, rather than doing it in templates. Template logic should be as laconic as possible. Simple conditions, iterations, decorator calls. Block may assign variables to the template. Such variables have regular camel case syntax. If a variable is created inside a template, it may have the underscore prefix. Hint the related block class names in templates using a php-doc command. It helps greatly when searching, viewing, or modifying templates. Keep getter's public interface simple, from 0 to just a few parameters. Use type hinting for a parameter. For getter should be an object. It is good practice to define a getter in the block with object parameter, rather than to get something from that object directly in template. Tampering with objects inside template will most likely cause compatibility issues in future, while passing these objects back to a block getter gives great allowance of refactoring. It is irregular to set anything or to call some write action from a template. Normally, templates only read information from block. If a getter has parameters, it should support as much use cases as possible. For example, a getter takes specified parameters and formats it as string. Then such method should be able to decorate provided format with whatever HTML code the template may request. It is discouraged to mix up HTML code inside translation calls. She, translator, can cope with this, but the actual dictionary will be littered. Often it's needed to create a template just for wrapping something. Instead of creating a template with 2 lines of code, take a look at block's page HTML wrapper and core text list. Most likely, these 2 will satisfy your needs. A wrapper block can be created in layout as a placeholder. Then other layouts insert other blocks there as children. Then the wrapper outputs all its children and may wrap them into an HTML tag with specified parameters. It's not required to declare getters. If they just return whatever there is in the block data and should be used in template, instead of block may set magic parameters to itself specifically for template just before outputting. If a getter has parameters, it should support as much use cases as possible. For example, a getter takes specified parameters and formats it as string. Then such method should be able to decorate provided format with whatever HTML code the template may request. It is Designer and developer for Magento should understand the key terms of layout before starting to work with it. Layout handles, the root nodes, and in layout XML instruction file. A handle may be defined in any of the layout files, which are eventually merged into one big XML, just like configuration. Layout handle name can be arbitrary, designer define it. Each controller action decides whether to load and which handles to get. By default, controllers load default layout handle and merge it with the handle that equals to the current full action name. The module, controller, and action names joined by underscore. Layout XML merging processes obey the same module's dependencies the order as in configuration. Layout updates any set of directives that are inside the merged layout handle. There are directives to create, remove, and reference blocks, to call blocks methods, and to merge any of specified layout handles current reference. There is a block object behind block layout directive. It's a common practice to instantiate a template block, set some magic parameters to it in layout, and then to use the template. When declaring blocks in layout, keep in mind that block name is global. It is used to identify a block instance in layout for referencing if a block is declared with same name as block existing in layout. It will override that block. There is a convention for block name to consist of words that describe the page and exact position on it. Words should be separated with dots. A block alias is unique only in context of its parent block. The aliases are used to reference the child blocks only, for example, in templates to render specific child. Reference directive allows to inject any layout updates into already defined block, as if they were declared inside this block. If a reference block does not exist yet, these layout updates are ignored. As it was said before, the layout updates obey the same formal module dependencies order as configuration merger. Understanding this will prevent questions about strange disappearance of blocks. One important improvement since Magento 1.4 is a multiple cross-package themes fallback. Namely, it means that any theme file, template, image, CSS file may exist in a single instance in the base default theme and be available in all themes. This allows ideally to create a theme using just a few CSS files and images rather than copying entire layout and template set. Theme designers are encouraged to use this feature to create themes compatible to Magento 1.4. Another good practice for creating themes prior to cross-package fallback is to create a copy of the theme you based on in your own package as default and then to extend it. Then when upgrading to newer version, just review the changes of your default theme against the new upgraded one and do such similar changes in the customizations. A common mistake with templates customization is to miss proper module usage for translation calls. It happens if the block was extended by a custom module block and then the template uses the double underscore, this double underscore. To make sure the translation calls pick proper module in customized template, call the translation helper there explicitly. Thank you for joining us. Now I'll give it back to Kobe and we'll talk to you about how to become a contributor. Thanks.
Hey everybody, this is Kobe again. So I'm just going to run you briefly through how you can become a Magento contributor. We know that there are many people out there who have already signed the Magento contributor agreement and are already on the development list. But as such, I'm sure there are just as many on the webinar here today that would like to start sending us patches or like to start working on Magento development and don't know where to begin. So the best thing to do is send an email to mca-request@magentocommerce.com, and we'll be able to get you the Magento contributor agreement over to you so that you can sign it and send it back, and that'll make you an officially recognized contributor, and also make sure that all the intellectual property issues are in order. The next thing that you'll want to do is join the Google group. So it's groups.google.com/group/MagentoDevel, and what this is, it's basically a mailing list or forum type setup where many of the people who are sending in patches and who are contributing and working on Magento development get together to ask questions and send their patches in. And we also have members of the Magento development team. We also have groups forming around QA, which is quality assurance, and testing Magento and trying to find bugs and help close them, and also artwork and themes as well. So we know that there are some very talented designers in the community, and if they wanted to lend some of their talent to helping make Magento look, look slick in any way, we appreciate that as well. And we also are launching a contributor portal. We're working on the last few features for that soon, so that'll be a place where you'll have a quick overview of how to become a Magento contributor, be able to download the MCA and sign it and have it sent back right from there, as well as other key information that developers and contributors would like to see. And part of that also is going to be a section highlighting current community contributors. So if you get on there now and you start interacting with the team and sending code and stuff, you might just show up on the Magento site as well. So that's it from our end, and of course, any questions can be sent to myself. My email is oz@variant.com, and I guess Anton, do you just want to take us through the wrap-up? Oh, one other thing I will mention is that this, along with other Magento webinars, are available through the Magento webinar archive, which you have the link for right there. And these slides will be up there as well as the video, of the recording. So I guess we're really short on time for questions. So I don't know if we're going to take questions now or try to answer them through email. But Anton, do you want to just take us through some final comments and help wrap up?
Thank you, everyone. I don't have any comments. I mean, you can also shoot emails to me, and we'll try to answer everything that we get. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.